And then oh my God, and I've gone so far.
It's okay.
Thank you so much, Bacha. All right. So what are the costs? What does it cost you when you sit with um, imposter syndrome? Alienation, you alienate yourself. You have unfulfilled relationships. And by the way, if you let it manifest at work, it's going to affect your relationships outside of work. That's what happens. All right. You're going to experience self-sabotage. That means you're going to say to yourself, I will do ABC, and then you do not show up for yourself. That's what self-sabotage means. You're going to be stagnant, most likely be stagnant in your profession. Again, from self-sabotage, you're not going to take up new challenges. You don't want to take any risks. So you're going to stay stagnant. I know somebody who called me and she had been in the same position for 7 years. And there's no room for growth because of the kind of organization she works for. It's political based, so there's no room for growth. And the comfort zone, that comfort level has her, had her, it worked for her for a period of time, but now she realizes that she's not fulfilled. Waiting for luck to happen. That's, we've had so many people say, if one day this can happen, what is luck? We cannot sit around and wait for luck. When we sit around and wait for luck, we're actually not living our fullest self. We're not fulfilling that desire to live our best self. All right. Next, what do I have for you? All right. So how do we overcome the imposter syndrome? All right. So I was looking around online, trying to find who are the most influential people who have something that I can share with you. And this is what Oprah says about the imposter syndrome. Every guest that comes to her show, the one thing that, she says the consistent thing her guests ask, including Obama himself, the man that achieved great status in today's society. The consistent thing her guests ask, including Obama, is how was that? Was I okay? The often real problem is the underlying fear of not being good enough. It's not my job. It's my job to show them and support them in really owning their uniqueness. So whatever goes on at the show, what Oprah has decided to do is tell her participants or the guests who are showing up, that you're unique and you need to show your uniqueness. So there's nothing wrong with showing up the way you want to show up, because these are people who have achieved something. The reason she invites them is because they've achieved something, right? So that's her experience. These are people who are high flying, sitting at her table, around the table with her, and they're still experiencing the imposter syndrome. Now, how do we, what are some of the things that you want to do to be able to stop that, or to stop these feelings or overcome these feelings? Power tip number 1, do not misuse, feel the fear and do it anyway, right? Here's what happens. I hear this so many places, and so many people do this. They will use it, and sometimes it's good. And I've used it myself. You know what? I'm just going to feel the fear and do it anyways. The problem with using that coping, whether that feel the fear and do it anyway, without mindfully thinking about it, it becomes a temporary coping mechanism, meaning that you're going to do what you're going to do with all of the negative emotions without acknowledging that they're there, right? So it's a short-term solution. Next time another challenge comes, then you back at it again, feel the fear and do it anyways. You haven't learned anything from feeling the fear. Now, how do we learn how to feel the fear? Let the fear be there. Feel means allow the vibrations of the feeling of fear to be present. How do you do that? You sit with the feeling. If it's fear, if it's anxiety, you sit with it. And then you ask yourself, what am I experiencing right now? Where am I feeling this emotion? I am giving you an example of an emotion because we do not know how to deal with our emotions. Many of us are not raised to deal with our emotions. We don't know how to deal with them. We just ride the tide with the emotions. So what you want to understand is every negative emotion is giving you feedback. So you want to be able to experience it. You want to sit there and allow the fear to be there. But in allowing it, these are the questions you're asking yourself. Where am I feeling it? Is it in my throat? Is it in my chest? How am I experiencing it in my body? If you were to give it a name, what name would you give it? You know, I usually encourage, give it a name of somebody who you were afraid of, but then eventually when you got to know them, you realize that you're not afraid of them at all. You know, for men, it's that young lady that you're trying to hit on and you're afraid of speaking out. And then you do, and then she opens up, right? So feeling the fear means find yourself a meditation that can help you experience the fear. Really feel it. If you just jump in without experiencing that fear and what it's doing for you, you're going to experience a lot of pain trying to overcome the challenge. Now, when you allow yourself to experience, this is the mindfulness practice, by the way. When you allow yourself to feel the fear, you actually open your mind up to objectivity. And then you're able to write some things down that are going to prepare you for that challenge. But otherwise, if you let a negative emotion, if you suppress it, if you ignore it, if you're just saying it's there, I'm going to push it away, it totally disorganizes you. You're not in a position to be objective. So feel the fear and do it anyways. Focus on the feeling. Feel it before you do it, right? Experience the feeling before you do it. There are so many meditations out there on fear. You can find one on YouTube, anywhere, apps, anywhere. So there's so many out there, all right? Power tip number 2, accept adversity. Acceptance is a mindfulness practice. It is a skill that every human being needs to master. This one has no excuses. You know, all of us want to learn how to accept adversity. Why? Because adversity is part of our lives. Life is 50-50. It's 50 good and 50 bad. So when something negative happens, assuming maybe you had a terrible performance review at work, or you know, imposter syndrome can affect you in your relationships as well, because sometimes when you don't feel good enough for the person, if it's an intimate relationship for the person that you're with, you're going to be cowering and holding yourself back. So you want, when something bad happens, you cower even more, you coil even more, because now it's, oh my God, all hell has broken loose. I knew that this was going to happen, right? But when something bad happens, sit with it and ask yourself, why is this a good thing to happen to me right now? That's how you solve through or work through adversity. It is a human experience that will never go away. We are all going to experience it. You know, we've experienced it in the past, we're all going to experience it in the future. But what makes adversity worse is what you think about it, what you make it mean about you. So if something goes wrong at work and you think, I should have known better, I knew this was going to happen, you're taking it so deeply, and you're making yourself, in fact, you're creating an identity towards that adversity. So you're making yourself be the person that deserved that bad performance review. And yet, you could simply sit there and think, you know what? Things happen. I am glad I've gotten this feedback. Why is it that I needed to hear this feedback? All right. So you change your mind about what you think about the adversity, and that's acceptance. It is not everyone has to live with it. No, I'll live. No, that is pushing it that's pushing it away. That is not acceptance. Separate facts from feelings when you are experiencing any adversity. Facts are facts and feelings are feelings. All right. When we focus on the feelings and what they're creating for us, we might believe that the feelings are facts. They're not. A fact is separate from a feeling. So when, for example, when somebody says, you did not do a good job at this, at ABC, it's a fact that they said it. What you are making it mean is going to cause the feeling. So the fact is not going to cause the feeling. When you decide that this person doesn't like me, this person doesn't like my performance, this person is always out to get me, those thoughts are the ones that are going to create the feelings. And yet all those are stories you're telling yourself. Those are not facts, all right? So you need to learn the difference, okay? Now, when we often face adversity, we are saying to ourselves, I mean, we experience these feelings, the fear, the pain, the fear, the sadness, you have all those negative feelings. Now, sometimes what creates a lot of conflict and a lot more pain when we are experiencing adversity is not wanting to experience the feelings. We never want to have these negative feelings, but that's not a fact of life. We have to experience the feelings because that's part of life. So when you think, I don't want this pain, I don't want this fear, I just want joy, this is going to get worse. The feelings, the negative feelings are going to get worse because you're ignoring them and you're neglecting them. And what's a feeling? A feeling is just a vibration in the body. It's going to come and it's going to go. And that's it. It's just a vibration and that's it. All right. So how do you move forward? Oh, rather, tip number 3, change your internal narrative. What story are you telling yourself about you? This is where the inner critique plays a game on us, all right? Why do we have such a strong inner critique? When we are growing up, our parents are constantly, criticizing what we're doing, or guardians, anybody who raised us in school, everywhere we go, and then you get into college, and then your friends, and then, people around you are constantly criticizing you. So when they criticize you, a lot of them, many of them mean well. It's just that that's the talk that they're used to. So they'll criticize you, expecting that when you take that criticism positively, you're going to change your behavior, right? So then you grow up thinking that if I don't criticize myself, I'm not going to change my behavior. So you constantly criticizing yourself internally, criticizing. Let me tell you, my friend, that is not the best way to achieve what you want. Sometimes, yes, you can get to where you want, but it's the most painful way. But in most cases, it holds you back. The internal narrative, if it's negative, it's going to hold you back. Nothing comes out of a negative feeling. Negative talk will create negative feeling, which will create negative results in most cases. Positive talk will create positive feelings, which will create positive results. So the internal narrative that you're telling yourself is going to matter a lot. What, instead of criticizing yourself, ask yourself, what have I accomplished so far? Write those accomplishments down if you must. The tool that I'm going to give you at the end is one of those tools that's going to help you do that. Do all of these activities rather. What challenges did you face when you were trying to accomplish something that you are so proud of? Write those challenges down and then ask yourself, how did I work through these challenges? If I did experience courage, where did that courage come from? How was I able to pull myself into a situation where I worked through these challenges? I was talking to a client of mine earlier on who wants to start a bakery. Previously, she had a business where she was importing shoes in Tanzania. And then she's a client from Tanzania. And she wanted to, she decided to have children. Now she wants to get back into business. So she was so courageous back then. She just, out of college, very ambitious, just started the business, which is kind of my story as well. When I left the bank, got into recruiting, so courageous then. But when I was getting ready to start this coaching business, my goodness, the fear was real. So for her case, she wants to start a bakery, and she's going around asking for advice, doing her research. And, I can see that she's very cautious right now. So my questions were, let's go back to that point when you started that, when you opened that shop and you were importing bags. What is it that gave you that courage? Go back to that situation. Sit in that situation. Allow yourself to sit back in that situation and ask yourself, how did I get the courage then? Because by the time you got where you are right now, you've gone through some experiences, and you've gone through some experiences where you've experienced courage, where you've pulled out that courage from somewhere and overcome challenges. You have so many of those. So write them down. The reason we get ourselves in imposter syndrome is because we forget these things. Get in the habit, write story down of how you did it then, trust me, by the time at the end of that story, you're going to feel much different, really, because you're going to pull out all of those, it's like when you sit here and think about one of those moments that was, maybe you went on vacation, maybe you were at the beach, you did something so exciting. Anytime you think about something so exciting, notice how you feel. The excitement comes back. It's the same thing here. Find a situation where you felt courageous. Because when you put yourself in that situation, the feeling is going to be different. And then that feeling, as long as you bring a positive feeling into your body, your experience going forward is going to be different as well. So ask yourself, at that moment when I was courageous, who did I become? Because you're certainly a different person after you've overcome a challenge. Now ask yourself, who did I become? And try to write that story of who you became. That is how we change our internal narrative. Now, one of the things that I would like for you to learn is one thing you're going to take away from here today is practicing thoughts that are going to allow you to change the words that you, or the sentences that you tell yourself. It is so simple. Some of you have probably tried affirmations, and some of you have probably stopped because the affirmations do not work. The reason affirmations take time to work is because you take time to believe it. So one of the statements that I would like for you to practice is, I am accomplished. The more you practice, remember we said, the more you think one thought, it becomes the belief, and then it becomes your self-talk. So the more you practice, I am accomplished, the more you're going to believe it. And the more you practice, the more you think that statement. If you are going into a meeting and you know it's going to be difficult, if you're going to have a conversation at work and you know it's going to be difficult, if you've been given a new task, you have a new project, all of this stuff, say to yourself, I am accomplished, and try and believe that statement. If you do not believe it yet, say to yourself, I want to believe that I am accomplished. And then write down the accomplishments that allow you to believe that statement. Because once you believe it, trust me, it's going to change who you are, and you're going to be able to achieve the goals that you set out to achieve. I'm going to leave you with one story. We all know this wonderful lady. She has accomplished so much. So Michelle Obama has a rap sheet of accomplishments. There we go. Graduated in sociology. She went to Harvard. Who goes to Harvard? In 1988, where most Black people really struggled to go to Harvard. She went there, got her JD in law, married Barack. Of course, Barack was not famous then, but they were both in law, and I think that's how they met. She became executive director of Chicago Office of Public Allies in 1993. She joined the University of Chicago as the Associate Dean of Student Services in 1996. And in the same year, she became Director of Community Relations at the university. Oh, I repeated that, sorry. The same year she became, in 2005, she became Director of Community Relations at Chicago Hospital. In 2007, she focused on her children, decided to pull back from her professional work or professional career, decided, let me focus on my children and let me support my husband during his campaign. 2008, she became the First Lady. What happened after that? She has a rap sheet of accomplishments. A lot of those were social causes. She's tried to help people in obesity. She's an advocate for the girl child and empowering the girl child. Health, so much. She's done so much, and she's continuing to do so much. I see she's traveling a lot nowadays, continuing to do so much around the world. You know what she said? That every time she she would sit around the table during her career, where she felt that she did not belong, where people were telling her or beating down her suggestions and things like that. Why did I animate this? It doesn't look good. This is what she said to herself. She would say to her, and anytime she experienced the imposter syndrome, she would say to herself, I belong here. And she would sit there and repeat it to herself. I belong here, I belong here. And anybody who tried to beat down her suggestion, she would say to herself, you don't belong here. She's saying it to herself, not the person. You don't belong here. I belong here. That's what gave her the courage to overcome the imposter syndrome. So my friends, go out there and do some work on yourself. If you need to improve what you're thinking about yourself, look at your thoughts, look at your beliefs. What self-talk are you giving yourself? Is it creating doubt? All those are the obstacles. Have some strategies. If your self-talk is negative, how do I improve this? Listen to podcasts, read books that encourage you to create positivity in your life. There's so much out there. YouTube has a wealth of stuff that you can watch if you're not the reading type. I love to sit in my car and play podcasts, or when I have a quiet moment by myself at home. There's so much on for those of you who are on Netflix, there's documentaries out there on the mind. Look at that. Create some strategies on how you can improve the belief in yourself and your presence, and consistently use the tools that you see. We give you so many tools. People get so many tools, but they do not implement these tools. They don't use the tools, and then they don't implement. If you don't use the tool, it's going to be difficult to implement. So the tool that I'm going to give you today, I encourage you to use it. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for you to implement any changes in your life. All right? That's how you reclaim your power. That's how you become that person who knows that even if I have a new challenge and I'm going to experience the imposter syndrome, I have strategies on how I can go around that. All right? So my friends, go out there and make that money. I mean, this is about success. If you do allow yourself to grow, you're going to create a lot of success in your life. Trust me, success comes from challenging yourself. It can be very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to grow. It's very uncomfortable to change, but it's also very uncomfortable to stay where you are. So choose your heart, which it's hard to make changes, to change your habits, change your ways, change your life. It's also hard to stay where you are. Choose your heart. All right. I will now open it up for any questions. And thank you so much for listening in. It's been wonderful giving you these tips. And so if you have any questions, either raise your hand or throw them in the chat, and I'll be happy to respond. And I could also offer that if anyone has a challenge they're experiencing right now and they would like a mini coaching session, I can do that with you right here so that other people can see how that goes. All right. And, keep it work related. That way, and you don't have to give a lot of information. You can just, you don't have to give names. Some people are afraid of coaching in groups because they think they have to say way more than is necessary. You don't have to. By the way, as coaches, you don't have to tell us the full story. We just want to know, this is my challenge. And this is the reason for the challenge. Brief challenge. Alternatively, a counselor or therapist is going to ask you a lot of detail from your past. We don't go down that road. We don't need to. I want the story that you're telling yourself, and then I'll give you the strategy that you use to be able to change that narrative. All right. So, anybody have any questions? Or was that very clear? I don't see any questions, but this is an example. I've just given you examples of some of the work that I do with my clients. And you don't have to come to me for help. There's so many coaches out there, but I really want you to consider, if you're having a difficult time changing your ways, changing your habits, and being that person that you want to be, you really want to consider getting help from somebody, from an expert. All right. You want to also have a mentor, because oftentimes we can solve these challenges with a mentor. They will guide us. But if you want to go the extra mile, find an expert to help you. Don't kill yourself alone. Everybody experiences it. Everyone has these experiences, and it's very normal to seek help. All right. Thank you so much, Florence. You're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions? I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Am I going to assume that everything was clear? Anybody, do you have any questions on the on the power tips that you need to implement? Going back will take so long. So do you have any questions on what you need to implement, on how to implement it? In the meantime, if I can find the tool, how do I attach? There we go. All right. I'm going to share the tool right here. Take it with you. Feel free to share it with anybody who's interested. I really do not care. I think it's something that I should have pulled it up before. I'm looking for it. So I'm going to share it here. In fact, the other thing that I'll do is I'll share it with I will share it. If you registered, I'll send it to you via email as well. All right, so geez, I have tons of tools. Now I'm trying to remember which folder, because I thought it was in, increasing self-compassion. No, it is not self-compassion. This is what I should have done. I should have pulled it beforehand. But anyways, I'm going to send it via email. So as well, if you register, you'll receive a copy via email. Oh, somebody's phone, I think, is creating. Do we have anything on the chat yet? No, nothing on the chat. I hear a scratchy noise. Yes, Mbacha, you have a question? Somebody needs to mute. I am hearing a scratchy noise. I think someone's asking a question, but unfortunately we can't hear you. Hello? Hello? Mbacha, that might be you. Is it you? All right, there we go.
I was wondering if can you hear me? Sorry.
I can hear you. Let me see if somebody else needs to mute, because there's a lot of static. All right, try again. Let's see if the static is coming from you. Yeah, the static is on your end. Do you want to type the question? I think I'd suggest, I suggest you type the question. I think the static might be coming from your end. There's a lot of static, so I can't hear.
How about now?
Yes, better.
Is it better? Okay.
Yes.
I wanted to ask if there's a way you could take us through the tool, or maybe you can present it and take us through the guide or the tool.
Oh,
Is it a possibility?
let me, okay. All right, let me open it. This would mean that I'd have to stop sharing. Oh, my battery is about to die. And I don't think I can chat where I am, because I have a all right. All right. So the tool is going to look. Hola. Share screen, where are you? Yes, edit. Okay, share screen. Let me find the share screen. Share screen, and I have opened the tool. Now I just need to find it. Hello.
Can find
I
it.
don't see. I don't see it in my open documents, and yet I just opened it. Hold on, let me just close a few things here. It is called the achievement story. It's right here. I can see it. Now, share screen, find it. There we go. Okay. I just needed to click on it again. All right. So this is what it looks like for the achievement story. All right. So what this does is it helps you be able to communicate your unique skills, your experiences, and success more effectively, memorably, and interesting. First to yourself, and then to somebody else who might need to hear them. All right. So you're going to require to, you're going to read a little bit about the achievement. Do a little bit of reading before you do this. Identify an achievement. That's the first thing you're going to do. And here are some prompts. Have you created or developed something that had a positive impact? Have you improved a procedure or increased productivity in some way? Have you prevented a potential issue? Have you overcome a challenge that had positive consequences? Find those things, write them down. All right. Pick one. And then list all the actions that you did at that point, at that time. So all good stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Start at the beginning and go through your actions in chronological order. Right where the story started, the middle, and how it ended. But try to focus, focus a lot on the positives, but also if there was negatives, how did you overcome them? Because we are looking for a good story, right? And then highlight your key skills. What did I gain out of this? Sometimes we go into job interviews or sit around the table. If say you're looking for some kind of contract, project, money, you sit around the table and you're presenting yourself in a way that is trying to convince the other person to give you what you need. But you don't need to convince. If you know your skills, you don't need to convince. How do you identify them? Write your story and find out what skills did I obtain out of it. All right. And then summarize your achievement story. And at the end of it, you're going to reflect. How did I find this exercise? Was it helpful? What did I learn? All of these questions are going to help you affirm your accomplishments and affirm that belief in yourself. So it's just a very simple tool. It really is. All right. And here are spaces where you can fill in all those blanks. And you can write as many, you can write as many stories as possible, as you want, rather. I'm sure you don't have one achievement in your life. So if you have 5, do 5 stories. All right. That's how you build your confidence. And for anybody who has a huge goal that you're looking at, maybe you want to start a business, maybe you're looking for a promotion of some sort, mid-level management, senior role, or maybe you want to go out there and fundraise for something. You want to be able to, maybe you want to apply for a PhD, right? Any kind of challenge, write your story. Once you write your story, you're going to be very confident when you're sitting in front of the people who need to listen to this story to help you get what you get. All right. So it's just that simple. Really. And of course, there's an example. And then at the end, the skills are listed, examples of skills are listed. So you don't have to think, what do they call this skill? There's a whole lot of them there that are listed. I think that's the end of the tool. All right. Has that helped?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Excellent. All right. All right, my people, are there any more questions? If they're none, my battery is at 8%. So it's not going to shut down in a minute, but yeah, so if there's no questions, you have my email. If you want to ask a question privately, go ahead, send me an email. I'll be happy to respond. And find me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I was meant to record this and post it on YouTube. Now, look what I did. We started that cost, but that's okay. I'll throw it on there anyways, and I'll highlight that at least the tips are all in there. The tips that people need to learn are all in there. All right. Thank you for the amazing session. You are so welcome. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Amisa, and thank you, Janet. And all right, so I guess I'll close the session now since we don't have any more questions. And reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer. All right. Good luck, and let's work that imposter syndrome out of our lives. Well, we can't wait because we are growing. We want to make more money. We want to have more success. So these challenges are always going to show up. All right, my friends. Thank you so much. It's been nice hanging out with you. Have a good evening or good morning, wherever you are. Bye-bye. Thank you, Basha.